Hello, this is Phil Jones. Again, we're here with a grammar review. Specifically, we're looking at estructura y uso 3 y 4 del capítulo 3. I'm going to do very little with the irregular yo forms of the verbs on page 92. The only thing that I really want to say about that is it's a regular conjugation except for the yo form. That's the only one that's irregular. So if you know how to conjugate an AR verb, an ER verb, an IR verb, everything is normal about it except for the yo form. And there is, back I believe in chapter 1, we looked at one of the sessions on that we're doing here. You'll see how to conjugate verbs, and if you don't know how, go back and review that one. Very, very important to know how to do that. But there are 9 or so verbs that you're given, and irregular yo form. So if you'll keep that in mind, 2 of those do happen to be the verbs saber and conocer. And I do want to spend a little bit of time re-explaining that one. If you have not yet looked in the book and read page 94, I strongly suggest that you stop this tape, go back, read over saber and conocer, so that my explanation is the second explanation that you hear, in addition to any explanations that you've heard in class. Now, the important thing about saber and conocer is that they both mean to know. K-N-O-W, know. So the translation does not change at all. So in other words, if I say I know how to play baseball and I use the verb saber, or if I say I know Johnny Smith and I use the verb conocer, I'm still using the verb in English know. But in Spanish, it is 2 separate verbs. And one of them is saber, one of them is conocer. And the way to distinguish between those, in essence, is saber, you're talking about knowing facts. I know that it's cold outside. I know that today is Friday. I know that Washington, D.C. is the capital of the United States. Those are facts. Or I know how to play baseball. Or I know how to sing, or I know how to do anything else, I'm using the verb saber. Other situations where I would want to use to know are people, places, or when you can translate it, I'm acquainted with. Now, an interesting note, in Spanish, if you're talking about I've been to places, you can say in Spanish, I have been to a place, but most of the time, or at least a significant portion of the time, people use the verb conocer. So it's sort of like yo conozco Washington, D.C. I know Washington, D.C. as in I'm acquainted with it. But the real meaning in English is I've been there. I've been to Washington, D.C. So you can look at that one, and here's a couple more examples for you. I am acquainted with Picasso's art. That's sort of the one that you can translate with I've been acquainted. Or I'm acquainted with Julio Iglesias' music. Again, we probably in English may say in some limited circumstances, I know Picasso's art or I know Julio Iglesias' music. But when you know someone's music or someone's art, you do use the verb conocer. If you are talking about knowing a person, whether it is the person by title or the person by name, you use an A with it. It's called a personal A. So, for example, if I want to say, I know Julio Iglesias, as in I know the person, it would be conozco a Julio Iglesias. The next couple of frames that you have are the verbs conjugated for you. This is no different than anything else. Yo sé, tú sabes, él, ella, usted sabe, nosotros sabemos, vosotros sabéis, ellos, ellas, ustedes saben. And with the verb conocer, yo conozco, tú conoces, él, ella, usted conoce, nosotros conocemos, vosotros conocéis, ellos, ellas, ustedes conocen. And you will notice that those are regular verbs except for first person singular, the yo form. Those are the irregular forms of those. But again, both mean the verb in English to know. Let's look at page 325, I'm sorry, la página 95, la actividad 3-25. And what we're going to do with these is I've added just a little bit more to this exercise than you're actually seeing in the book. In the book, you're actually asked to determine whether it's jugar or if it's saber or conocer. I'm asking you to actually conjugate the verb because I made a complete sentence here. So, for example, I want to be able to say, Carlos knows how to play tennis. As I go through these, please pause them if you need to. It's important that you process the information, give it back before I give you the answer. Okay? Carlos? Sabe jugar al tenis. To know how to do something, use the verb saber. 2. ¿Conoces a mi amigo José Alfredo? Notice the use of the personal A there. Talking about knowing a person. Maria, and in this one I would probably translate, is familiar with Botero's art. Maria conoce el arte de Botero. I have been to Barranquilla, Colombia, but in Spanish, as you know, I know Barranquilla, Colombia. Conozco. Nosotros, blank, Cartagena, Colombia, another place in Colombia. Conocemos. Please notice that these do not use a personal A. When I said, tú conoces a mi amigo José Alfredo, I used a personal A. Barranquilla, Colombia, and Cartagena, Colombia are not persons, so it's very simply, conocemos Cartagena, Colombia. They know how to dance vallenato. Saben bailar. You know how to speak Spanish. Usted sabe hablar español. She knows Gabriel García Márquez, who is a famous Colombian writer. Ella conoce a, personal A, Gabriel García Márquez. Right? I want to stop just a second, do a little bit of additional practice with you from Kia. And again, if you don't use Kia, it is a really, really good resource. And let me see if I can pull it over into the frame so that you can see it. All right, that should be about right. And let's play the game. And I'm going to have to move it over just a little bit more. Okay, and basically what this one is saying is, I know that it is near the pizzeria. So in this case, it's I know a fact. It's not going to let me get the whole thing in there, I don't think. But I'll read them to you. And so I'm going to put in there, sé que está cerca de la pizzeria. I know that it's close to the pizzeria. That is a fact. And it doesn't tell me if it's right or wrong, but I'm telling you it's right. Nosotros, blank, a todos los profesores. We know all the professors. Answer? Conocemos. Okay. Actually, maybe giving me 20 cents when we get it right. We'll see. Blank a la novia de Ryan. So this one is, do you know Ryan's girlfriend? Conoces. Okay, muy bien. Do you know the name of the singer? It is Enrique. And I'm sorry, that was not a question. It's we know. Sabemos el nombre. Knowing a fact. It's not saying you know the person. It's saying, do you know the name of the person? Do you know a fact? Okay, muy bien. Do they know Deborah and Mauricio? Conocen. Okay, muy bien. Mauricio knows New York. In other words, he's been there. Conoce. Okay, hope you got that one. Do they know San Jose well? San Jose being the name of a place. ¿Conocen ellos San Jose? I know Mauricio. Notice it has the personal A. Conozco a Mauricio. Does Gregorio, let's see, Gregorio, si hay una fiesta, does Gregorio know that there's a party? I'm sorry, it's blank. Does Gregorio know that there's a party next Saturday? Sorry about that. It took me a second to figure out what I was saying. Does Gregorio know that there's a party next Saturday? He knows a fact. So it is sabe. Okay, muy bien. Number 10. Juan knows the clubs of San Jose. In other words, he's been to the clubs. Conoce. Okay. Kelly knows how to ride a horse well. Sabe. Okay. They know that her name is Alejandra. Knowing a fact. Or I know that her name is Alejandra. Okay. Juan knows how to dance salsa well. Do you know Enrique? Do you know where the library is? Knowing a fact. ¿Sabes dónde está la biblioteca? Melissa knows all the irregular verbs in this chapter. Now, these are facts that Melissa knows. This one might be a little bit tricky, but is it saying she's familiar with or that she knows them by heart? My assumption is that she knows them by heart. So we're going to try this one. Okay, and it didn't give it anything wrong. So, and somebody knows what is requete guapo, which means extremely handsome. So I know what requete guapo is. Okay, how many hours? What are the hours of the doctor has consultations open? Okay, so that is knowing a fact of a time. So it is sabemos. And so you can see that we got 18 correct, 0 incorrect, total of 18. All right, so let's go back one more. There's a couple more resources I wanted to share with you. The first one here is some additional practice that you can go through, check yourself on. And yeah, you should be able to see that pretty well. And then the second one is the Tontito Frito, the YouTube that he produces. Again, if you need another additional explanation. Hope this has been helpful, and we will see you in Chapter 4.